And hello, YouTube. This is Bub's Comics coming at you. Apparently, 7 minutes late on the No Faces comic chat. We had some technical difficulties. I had to fire our technical director, but we've already replaced him and we're in good shape. So, again, we apologize. But with us, we have, as always, the punctual, if it not for the rest of the world, DS Comics.
What's up, everyone? I'm here on time, as always.
And who knows how punctual he really is, Roger. So,
greetings, everyone. Good to be back.
Yeah, we missed you, man.
Absolutely.
I missed you guys like crazy. Trust me, I did.
So, where you been? What's going on? Let's hear the update.
Well, the long and the short of the story is that I drove a 26-foot truck from our home in Florida up here, and we stopped in our in-laws for the night, just so it wouldn't be a 10-hour trip, so it'd be more like a 6-hour second leg, right? And then about halfway up here in the hills of Alabama, one thing after another, my phone fell, and I missed a turn, so the GPS took me through these back roads, and when I had to do this almost stark U-turn, and the back tire got stuck in the corner of a ditch.
Oh man!
So by the time I got the tow truck, I had the plan where you have roadside assistance for free.
Right.
By the time they got me out, it was like dark, so I stayed. In a whole, my wife and daughter were already here by the time they got me out of there. So I arrived a day late, essentially. So, and then a few days after that, I got sick with the flu or something. So it's been a tough week. Let's just put it that way. Wow. But we're here, we're alive, and everything is well.
Well, it sounds like a wild ride for you the last couple of weeks, but I'm glad you're feeling better and that everything worked out so far. So good. And really glad to have you back.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be back. It's great to be alive. It was hairy for a while.
Well, good, and we're glad to have you. I was also wondering, I know that when you first get going, everything, you just try and throw everything in the house, right? Just get it all protected. So what room did you start on first? You start in the kitchen or the living room, or where are you piling? Where do you have anything done yet? Like anything pretty or ready to be seen yet?
The kitchen and the bedrooms. Well, not my daughter's room. That's a disaster. But her main room is, because she has we have like an in-law quarter here. So she has her own kitchen and her own living room and her own bedroom. And her living room, she's a computer techie person, so that's beautiful. That's like the furniture is there, everything's hooked up, everything looks gorgeous. Her bedroom is a disaster. The kitchen is somewhere in the middle. But on our part of the house, the kitchen is perfect. The bedrooms are nice, and the comic room is now starting to come together a little bit. And the dining, and it's a dining / living room. It's a pretty big room there. Is pretty much done. There are a few boxes that, as I was telling DS, I don't have the curtains up and I don't have the pictures up, but everything else is pretty much done.
Nice. That's actually quite a bit far along. You've only been there, what, a week?
Yeah. Well, my wife has been, working like a demon. So, like I said, I've been out of commission pretty much for a week. So she's been doing like 80% of it.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, to look at your setup just here tonight, I wouldn't even know you moved. You've got at least a setup for the chat. It looks like you brought it along with you.
Right. Well, you're just seeing the little frame here. If I let me show you a little bit here what I have here.
All right.
This is empty wall, and there are the some of my long boxes.
Some of,
and then here are some more things still in boxes to go, and here's some more down there, and there's some more in there.
Nice. So is that going to be the comic room though?
And then there's more in my bedroom, and then there's more in the hallway.
Wow.
So is this room going to be devoted to comics?
Correct.
All right. Yeah, that's a nice space.
Yeah, it's
not plenty of room.
Well, I wish it was a little bigger, but it's not bad. It's, you know, and I thanks to my wife for allowing me to have this because I've never had a comic room and she knows how much I wanted one. So she said, you know, you can do this. And just, I said, listen, this is something that's going to be a geek out kind of place. So believe me, you don't want to be in here.
So you've got both of us beat now because you got your own space. Bub is sharing his, so his is half as good. I don't have one at all, so I don't even have one. So you're at the top of the list right now for us.
Yeah,
well,
we're jealous.
I guess so, but it's you know, it's gonna be probably several months before I have it anywhere near where I want it to, or I want it to be, I should say.
I think that DS you could probably have a comic room if you wanted to. It looks like you got a lot of space down there, and if you move that deep freeze over there with the severed heads out in the yard, I just always assume like he shows a bunch of comics with death and dismemberment, then there's this ominous deep freeze in the shadows. I'm always thinking there's got to be something in there unsavory. So,
well, that's what I do. With my serial killing, I store the bodies chopped up in the deep freezer, and then several months later, I go scatter them outdoors, and then that destroys being able to determine the time of death. It's really helpful forensically. But
that's good to know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've got a comic corner in the basement. I don't have a comic room. I mean, I've got plenty of space, but it's not the same as having your own room with a door and a desk and a carpet. And, I'm just sort of throw stuff together here, and it's an area, but it's not a room. So it's not as good.
Yeah, well, my wife doesn't have too much of this room. She's got two corners and the wall in between, which is the shortest wall in the room. And and it's got a window as part of it. So, and I still have a filing cabinet over there. So there's not. She probably could use a little bit more room, but she likes being in here too, and she likes watching me smile. So she likes to see me in here. I'm always geeking out in here, and she likes it. I got to spend all weekend in here pretty much because I was reorganizing and recataloging all my books.
Yeah, and you may have a little more space in there now because it sounds like perhaps you were moving more things out than they are coming in at this point.
I've sold over the last week. I've sold 130 or 230 comics.
Whoa!
Yeah, over the past week.
Wow!
Good work, my friend.
Yeah, I was gearing up for our big buy. When I first started going into this hobby, so I was like sitting at my desk at work one day, and this guy came in and he was talking about comics. I was like, hey, I collect comics too. And he was like, oh yeah, what have you got? And I was like, well, I got this one and I got that one. They were like nothing, And he was like, oh, that's cool. I was how many you got? He was like, oh, I got a couple of thousand. I'm like, what? That's crazy. And then he said, yeah, you should go over to this flea markets and peddlers mall. I didn't know anything about collecting comics at that time. I had just bought stuff from the local comic shop and wasn't paying for that. That was all on store credit on stuff that I had sold them of other stuff. So I didn't know anything about it. So I went to the peddlers mall and I picked up, comics, and I was dollar books basically. So I had, probably got $1,000 books. So, and the good thing about a dollar book is Roger, you know how it is. You're collecting a run.
Yep.
Probably 80% of your books are dollar books too, but the other 20% are, $500 books. So that's,
probably probably the truth is somewhere in the middle. Probably about half or dollar books, and then you have the $5 to $20 books, and then you have the 5% which are up there.
Well, I've got to the point where I had so many books that I was running out of room to put new books. And it's funny because now, once the first time I sold books for that purpose, just kind of to make room and get rid of them, stuff that I either read and didn't like, or things that I read or haven't read yet, but I was like, you know what, I'm never going to complete this run, and I don't care if I do. I thumbed through it and it looked kind of crappy. I was like, whatever. Back then I was trying to decide what I wanted and what I liked, So a lot of them I was just collecting and never even reading. So now I just thought, once I started selling a couple of those, I realized that I like going through my collection and seeing the keys and the big books and the runs that I really care about, and the rest is just taking up space.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I think when we talked about this. Was it last week, Bub? Where when you're going through a run and it's frustrating when you're putting together a huge run, you're picking up all these little books, and really the only one you want to see when you're flipping through or display are the keys, and the rest of it is taking up space at some point. And it's still cool to complete a run, but after you complete a run or you just get tired of the run, now you've just got a bunch of books taking up space, and if you can move them, get some money, and pick up something bigger, it gets addictive when the first time you do it, because you get that big key with money that essentially came from selling off stuff that you're not really that fond of anymore. So yeah, good luck. I'm sure you're going to make some more space and pick up some bigger books.
yeah, I already have made the space. So, and it also increased the budget because I was selling them, not just like giving them away or throwing them away. So that helped out a lot too. So now I'm ready. You know, the comic budget had got so big, I went and opened another account this morning just to hold it, so that way I wouldn't, because you know, trying to remember how much of your regular money is comic money gets a little dicey, because like when I see something I want, I start remembering that shouldn't I have more like 700 in that budget? You know, like it's really just 5, but shouldn't I have 7? You know, so I can't really remember what was in there and what's supposed to be in there. So, you know, it starts getting inflated when I see something I really want. So to stop that from happening, I'm going to completely separate it 100% like a savings account, just have it all set aside and ready to be used. So
what are you mixing that funds with, like your regular living expenses funds right now?
I was before.
Oh, okay.
So I was before, and I would like have, you know, because sometimes you sell something, you end up with money in PayPal. Then sometimes somebody gives you cash. And then other times, you know, you get, I guess, credit of sorts. But the mix of the cash and the PayPal was getting a little bit much to balance. And originally I thought I was going to keep it all in PayPal because you can more or less pay for that with anything, you know, you can use that for anything. But there are some things you can't use it for, and some auction sites don't take PayPal for auction wins. So I was wary of that. I didn't want to put it all in there. And then also when you transfer money from like your bank account to PayPal, sometimes it takes like 5 or 6 days. And I didn't want to have that lag time, and your money's just gone. It's like it's out of my checking account right away, but then it might be 5 or 6 days until it shows up in my PayPal account. I don't want to be without that cash in case a good book comes along. So that's what I got going on now. And it was really helpful. It really was quite liberating to get rid of all those books. So this weekend I had a lot less of them to organize, and I was ready to get them organized. And even going through it again, I was like, I could probably let go of another 50 or 60 and not feel it too bad. So we'll see. Okay, let's see. So, Roger, you still there?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Are you wanting to let's talk about what you're going to do with your comic room? So tonight, our main topic of conversation is our dream comic rooms. You know, what would we have? How would we have it organized? Where would we have it? You know, are you wanting a basement room? Are you wanting just a bedroom? Are you wanting a separate building? Like I think like Bad Dad has his big like garage type. He's got his motorcycle parked in the loft and all kinds of crap like that.
Yeah.
You know, Mike in the chat there, he was showing off his statue room that he had redone. He's got a comic room and then like a / gaming room. And I don't know if that's part of the house. I think it is, but you know, everyone's kind of got their own little thing, nooks and crannies. So now we know you've got a room, but what's your dream comic room look like?
Well, I don't know if I can tell you exactly that. I mean, to me, yeah, I would like a structure away from the main house. Like Bad Dad has, you know, or maybe like Lawrence and the Go-To Geeks. I think they have kind of an addition there.
Yeah.
Only because, like, for example, now, you know, this room is right across the hall from my bedroom. So, you know, if I want to make noise, if we want to have this chat, I have to, you know, put a barrier here so it doesn't disturb anybody. And then if I want to get stuff in and out of the room, it'd be easier if I had an access from the outside or from somewhere that's not in the main house. You know, so like Bad Dad has, he has a little separate access there. or at least apparently. I mean, I don't know if he has to go up those stairs or what. So that's the location of the room. I mean, I would like it attached to the house, but kind of like a wing, shall we say? That would be ideal to me. You
I like that.
Yeah. So you could still have access to the house, but it's not, you don't have to go by the comic room in any, if you're going anywhere else in the house. That would be ideal, of course. Of course, you have to have, climate control, air conditioning, etc. Of course.
Well, I like that because one of the things that I've always kind of like. So not every person that, I know this sounds terrible, it's so pompous, but like not every person that comes to the house deserves to see my comic room, but that's kind of how it feels. Like, I don't want every single person that just happens to come to the house to be like, oh, and this is Andrew's, sorry. This is Bub's, nerd hole. This is his. this is where he's got his kid stuff, and not everyone's going to appreciate it. In fact, most people aren't.
Most people aren't. That's right.
So
most people are not going to get it. You're right.
No, and I don't really need to be like walking around the house and like, yes, this door is closed to the public. Sorry, keep moving. Nothing to see here.
What are you giving tours at the house? Is that what's going on?
Well, every now and then.
Yeah, but I understand what he's saying exactly. Like you have people over, you have friends over, or your wife or your daughter has, and they want to, it's sort of courteous to sort of take them around the house. Hey, here's
it is 10-cent tour.
Yeah. And if I have a wing, you're like, it's like, oh, this is my dad's room, and that's all you got to say, or my husband's room, and that's it. It's sort of like that's off limits. Notice there's a lock there, So,
are we going with keyless entry, or what? How are we working this one? Is it
of course DS's room would have the Cerebus right in the front with the laser beam grid.
Well, I already know what the entrance to mine will look like.
Go tell us.
All right. Well, it would definitely have one of those like Mission Impossible sort of thumbprint or hand scanners with a retinal scan, and then the doors open like the doors to Cerebro in the X-Men movies, where it's an X on the door and it sort of opens up, slides open, and it cuts the X in the middle and it opens up, and then there's a big lane or a walkway going to the middle, and then there's the chair in the middle, and it has like a circular desk around it where I can do all my work, and then all around the walls is comic stuff. That's my dream comic room. Be like a version of Cerebro like in the X-Men movies.
Wow.
Well, I wasn't far off when I said it would have the laser grid pattern, so that anybody who came would be, like in the Resident Evil, how that room.
Oh yeah.
Like it would sweep the hall and it would cut everybody to shards.
Just like electric cheese cutters.
Electric cheese cutter, right? Yeah, that's kind of what I envisioned DS's room looking like. I mean,
maybe some decoy rooms, like a maze. Like in the movie Cube. Yeah. And each cube, you have to find your way to the one that's the comic room. There's little codes on the entrances between the two, and there's booby traps in all of them. And they have a cheese cutter laser system in one of those rooms too in that movie Cube.
Right. Yeah, that's where the guy threw the shoe in to see if something happened. And
right.
Yeah, sure, I remember that.
I love it. I tell you, one thing that is hilarious about that is that DS Comics prides himself on his low tech setup. And he's installing retinals and sharks with freaking laser beams on top of their heads. He's like, realistically, I got a Mac Pro this year.
Realistically, the thing that bugs me the most about my comic area, not being a comic room, is the lighting. I would love to have good overhead lighting around the room, so no matter where you're filming or taking pictures or looking at things, it's a well-lit room. I don't have that. I have a light bulb hanging off the ceiling here, and then I've got like a lamp standing up that I'm using right now. It's terrible. I can't take good pictures to sell things. There's only light in a designated focused area where I'm shining it. It's not a well-lit area, so the lighting would be, man, I would love to have a comic room with good lighting. That's the main thing for me.
That sounds good. I like that.
I'm with you exactly. The room that I'm in here is very weak lighting. I'm gonna get a lamp stand and I'm gonna get a directional light. But yeah, you're right. Lighting is important because obviously, if we're also reading in here,
Right.
yeah, when you get to my age, your vision is not exactly, laser focused. So you need to have a more light than usual.
Yeah, I'm jealous when I see Silver Age Dave's videos
Yep.
because you can tell in his room he's got those overhead fluorescent lighting like you would have in an office building. Yeah, the strip lighting. And you can tell he's got that, and every inch of his place is completely well lit, and it's in such a way that there's not glares and reflections and stuff. It's just well lit, and that's his room is ideal for what the lighting I want.
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea. I hadn't thought about it. I could probably do that. I could probably put a couple of I could probably fit like 4 or 5 strip lights across the ceiling. That would really brighten it up in here. See, my wife does her makeup in this room too. So
she'd like that then.
She would love all that light. She'd be behind that. I might even get her to spring to pay for half of them or so, like the ones that are on her side.
Yeah, and the only time I ever want a lot of light is for comics. The rest of the time, I like the darkness. You know what I mean? Like, we're hanging out upstairs watching TV, the lights are low. If I'm just chilling, the lights are low. But comic-related stuff, I want bright lights. But every other place in my life, I sort of am cool with, like, chill lighting, just ambient lighting or low lighting. But I don't have good lighting for comics. That's the number one thing I desire for a comic room.
Mm. That's an excellent point. Yeah. We were talking about entrances, and have you seen is it Batcave comics or reviews from the Batcave?
Reviews from the Batcave, yeah.
Like he has the whole like grandfather clock that moves over in the wall and everything, and then it's a room down to his downstairs basement, and he's got everything all themed, and I mean it's pretty impressive. I'd like to have something kind of like that where it was a hidden room. Where you didn't know there was a door there. But
yeah, like a bookcase that spins or something. You pull the book out a little bit, and it's a lever that activates, like a bat cave or something. Like you lift up the phone or something. Or
yeah, that's what I'd like. Yep. Or actually, I'd like to have a like in the Batman television show, the old Batman series with Adam West.
Was it the statue where you tip the statue or something?
Yeah, he had a bust with Shakespeare, and you pull Shakespeare's head back. And the bookcase would open, and then there were, the bat poles, not the ones in Batman Damned, but the sliding poles.
Yeah, those fireman poles, along with spiral staircases, are cool for like the first day, and after that, those type of things. I had a place with a spiral staircase, and I'm like, awesome spiral staircase. After the first day, you hate it. It looks cool, but it's just I hate them. So yeah, that fireman's pole will be awesome for the first day. You're gonna love it, but then you're gonna be like you're tired, or you're gonna have stuff in your hands. It's gonna be it'd be cool to have that and stairs as an option.
I think so too. You have or an elevator because let's face it, who needs the extra exercise? It's just
elevator would be good.
Like a giant dumbwaiter I could just crawl into, lower myself down. That'd be all right. We gotta go low tech sometimes. So we got lighting. We got a cool entrance is definitely. What do you think, DS, about having it in the house or outside the house?
I mean, I'm fine with having it in the house. I would just have like a 4-bedroom home and one of the bedrooms is that or a den or so. I'm not looking to go outside in the winter and walk to the comic room. It's nice to have everything contained within my own house, like everything I do in my life in the house. And then, we could just go to the comic room down the hallway, in your pajamas or whatever. You don't have to go outside. Yeah, I don't need to have it detached. I just want a room with good lighting, basically. And it just like a smallest, like a 4-bedroom home with the smallest bedroom would be that. That'd be fine with me.
That's what we have. That's exactly what I did.
We took the second size bedroom, so my son has the smallest bedroom. But, we needed the workout room space too, so it kind of doubles. I look at it like there's 2 people using this room, there's 2 people using, our bedroom, and there's only 1 person using his room, him. So that kind of makes sense to me.
The good thing about a basement, though, is that there's not much natural light comes in at all, really, in a basement. You don't have windows, so you don't have to worry about that. It stays cool and dry all year round. So there's some benefits to basement. If we had like a finished basement, which was like a sort of a living room type area in a basement, maybe section that off or have part of that be a comic room, that'd be cool. Because I'm not looking for a room that gets, gets hot or humid, or has a lot of windows. You're going to black out the light, so I think that's a good thing about a basement is the temperature and environment in here is good.
Some basements are damp.
Yeah. That's why we actually have a finished basement here, 2 rooms. And I was considering doing it down there. But first of all, it's really cold down there. And I did notice it is somewhat humid. So I didn't want to chance it.
Mm.
Yeah, see, I would get a heater and maybe a dehumidifier and see how that worked out. Because if I had a nice basement space, that would be a good place because you're likely going to have a lot more room.
Yeah, you're right. It's a lot more room. You're right about that. Yeah.
But, I don't know, much about how much of a dehumidifier you're going to need or the heating system or whatever. But, yeah, I mean, if you got a basement that's cool and doesn't have windows and it's cool and dry all year round, pretty much, that's an awesome place to store valuable paper.
And I'm not sure, like winter now, I'm not sure in the summer what's going to happen down there either. So that's why I may change it down there. We'll see. But I have to see what happens in the summer because it gets, in Mississippi here, I'm told it gets really hot. So
sounds like you're just going to put a bunch of holes in the wall in that room and then move downstairs. Like,
yeah.
Do the same thing there.
Well, you could drill a hole in the floor and put one of those fireman poles in.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a rental. I can't be doing that.
Oh, well, that's a close one. I had also considered so the room that we don't really have we have a small house. So the room that I'm in doesn't have any windows on the far side of the wall. Like there's no window on one side of my house. There's no windows. So I thought maybe if I turn half of the room that's my comic room into a bathroom because we need another bathroom in the house too, and then use the rest kind of like an entrance, I could maybe build on to that side of the house, a comic cave or a den type place. So that's another one of my thoughts is that if we ever built onto the house, that would be the logical place to build out. So we would kind of work that way and see what happened. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime this decade, but that's a last hurrah before I retire. I'm still making money. Maybe I can afford a build like that. So,
well, this decade only has one more year, So.
Oh yeah, good point. I really like that you went ahead and got matching pads to hold up your comics.
Well, actually, it's one pad that I split in two.
You're blowing my mind, Roger.
I couldn't find the yellow pad, so I had to split that one in two.
As a fellow low-techer, I totally get that. Totally appreciate it.
By the way,
I've never thought of that. Bub would be out on eBay searching for something to buy to hold the books up and trying to build you just post-it note, break it in half. You're good.
By the way, DS, I wanted to show you this. I got this in right before I left from Florida. This very nice Marvel Spotlight number 8. This is the last Marvel Spotlight I needed, other than 5, right? But check out this staple placement, DS. Talk about.
It looks pretty nicely centered.
It is, but look at this. Look where the staple is, right there with the tire. Look at that.
What? All the way inside the cover, really?
Look at that.
Yeah, that's a missed staple there. If I ever seen one.
Look at this.
Wow. That's I see that a lot in Golden Age books, but even then, that's pushing it. That's
over an inch in.
Yeah, that's rare to see it. That probably cuts off part of the story.
Yeah, look, that's as much as you can open the comic. But the comic is in great condition otherwise. Hold on. Look. And then because it's so far in, the centerfold, it only goes through half the comic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. So I recently saw a book like that listed, and it was listed as a misstaple, manufacturing error, Because funny, because I would have thought it was printing error, but they don't call it printing error because there's no actual ink problem or paper problem.
Correct.
So they called it
it's
a
binary
manufacturing
error, actually.
Yeah,
That's
binary error.
Yep.
And then they also put it as does not it affects readability. It says because you can't open the page all the way to see all the art.
This is what it said on a slabbed label. You're saying?
No. It was on a listed comic. Like that's how the listing. It said it affected readability. So I wonder, like, because you have to be able to say whether it affects art, whether it affects story, and I guess in this case it's affected because you can't open it all the way, but it's there, it's still complete.
Well, I almost think if you got that one graded, that is such a bad staple job that would probably come back qualified with stapling error, manufacturing stapling error on the label. Anything else, they allow those type of errors, but when it gets excessive, they usually give it a qualified label. Like miscuts that are so bad, they give that a qualified label. And that's perhaps the most interior stapling I've seen on a cover. I don't think I've seen any that far in. Usually you see that when somebody adds staples to a book where the original spine is fallen off, they'll restaple it inside like that.
Yeah. I've never seen anything quite. I do have a Power Man, which is in about halfway from the spine, but I've never seen one that far over.
Yeah, that's pretty far.
I mean, how that got through quality control, I have no idea. Well, we were talking about how the poor quality control Marvels in the Bronze Age are, and I keep saying example after example after example of that.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, if people are collecting Bronze Age books, if you find it's not just about grade when you're looking at Marvel Bronze. I mean, if you can find something that's just a little bit lesser grade than maybe what you're looking for, but it's centered perfectly and the staples are good, that says a lot. That really adds a lot of value because there are people out there who, when they're buying higher end Bronze books, high grade, mint books, they want perfectly centered books. And most of the books from the Marvel Bronze Age are not perfectly centered, and at least 40% of them are horribly centered, where it cuts right off into that Marvel Comics group ribbon up top.
Right.
And then the binding is usually cuts sometimes into the price. So if you get a nicely centered bronze book with good staples, there's one right there.
Cut off. But it's unevenly cut off, as you can see over here. You see blue, and here you see nothing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that book there if you had like that as a 9.4 versus a 9.0 or a 9.2 with a much better centering, the 9.0, the 9.2 or 9.4 is going to be much better to sell than that as a 9.6. Because the centering, people want, if they're paying that much for a book, they want it well centered for a Bronze Age book. A lot of people, not everyone.
Yeah, I mean, so as I was taking my comics and reorganizing them here a little bit, and I remember you telling me this about the bronze, and I knew it, but boy, it's like to find a perfectly centered book before 1976 is a difficult task.
Right, and that's why it's so impressive when like ETA Nick, he's like a magnet for these perfectly centered books. Whenever he shows bronze books that he gets back from CGC, he's always found the perfect centered examples to send in for slabbing, and that he's ultimately going to sell. But he finds them like crazy, and when you do find one, it's a treat because they're few and far between. And especially like I noticed there's some of the issues where they have the Schwinn bicycle ad up top. I don't remember exactly what years that was.
I think it's like 1980, 1981.
Something like that. Yeah, right at the end of the Bronze Age. A lot of those are miscut bad right around that area, the era, I think, for some of the titles in Marvel. There's a couple books like X-Men 107, I think, has a printing error, or I think it's a printing error on almost every copy. That if you can, there's hardly any 9/8 of it out there because that defect, it caused a little tear or something. So many issues in the Bronze Age for Marvel.
Let me show you what you're talking about here, so people can know what we're referring to.
Yeah, I think it's 107.
Well, I don't have that, but I have. Are you talking about this kind of banner?
Yeah, that kind of banner.
Okay.
there seems to be a lot around that period that for certain Marvel titles that were cut so bad. Some of which almost look like they've been trimmed after the fact. That's how bad they were.
Maybe this is the one you're referring to specifically, the 10-speed racer one.
Oh, yeah, that might be it. Whatever, around that period, that year where they were doing that, I noticed there's a lot of bad cuts.
Yeah, that one doesn't look too bad.
No, that one's all right.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Yeah, this one's a little bit thick on the right.
Oh, it's funny you guys are talking about that, but to me, I like it. Gets me extra excited when I find one that's I think it's one of the reasons why I like collecting that age is because when I see a well-centered Marvel book from that age, it gets me super giddy, you know, because they're not out there very much.
No, and I think if you're going to try to resell bronze books, Marvel bronze, the centering is becoming more important among collectors. They're really looking for well-centered books. For display purposes too. So not all 9.4s are the same. You can get a lot more money out of a 9.4 that's perfectly centered versus one that's really bad miscut.
Yeah,
I had a whole stack of Daredevil 196s. It was the yellow cover with Wolverine in the front holding up a civilian guy and Daredevil's in the background.
Yeah,
just a super cool cover. I had a whole stack of those, and there was only the 2 that were well centered, and the rest of them were cut, really bad. And I ended up selling them all, but I had probably 12 of them or something, all told, and only 2 of them were really good centering. There you go, that one. And that one looks pretty decent, actually.
Yeah, for these Marvel, it has a slightly shorter here, and then it kind of widens out there, and also you can tell that the wrap has you want that black bar to be real even with the edge of the bind, so the comics code in the corner you can see is pushed just barely to the edge where you can't see the stamp outline of it. But
for that book though, that's a good one. They're usually not that good.
It is. I've had 3 of these, and I sold the other 2, and this is the one I kept because of the centering alone. It's hard to do. You just can't find them well centered anymore.
Well, I had a perfectly centered one that came back at a 9.6.
Wow.
And I put that up, and it sold like instantly. And I wasn't asking a ton of money for it, but the other ones I would put up on eBay. I did some on auctions, and they sold all right. Other ones, they sat there for a little bit. I had a perfectly centered 9.6, and it sold instantly. So just tough. A lot of those are tough to find.
I was reorganizing too.
Oh, that's pretty. That one looks pretty good. Is that a double cover?
Yeah, double cover.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So I have a question for you, DS. Somebody was asking in a chat the other day, it might have been on Facebook or something, how double covers get graded. And it seemed to be something of a, kerfuffle over it. Some people said that they only grade the top cover and they grade the second cover as interior. Other people said that they will average the 2, that they grade both covers and then average them together. What's your experience with that?
It's pretty simple and straightforward, basically. I mean, there's not always 2 covers. There's books that have 3 or 4 covers. But what they do is they will list the grade for all the covers on the label, and they use the highest grade cover as the grade.
Wow. So you could be looking at a book that says 2 or 3 covers on the label, and then the front cover could look like crap, and it could still be like an 8.5.
Yeah, the interior cover is always better than the outside cover when there's a double cover. And they use the grade for the higher one, which is almost always the interior cover. And some books that have 3 covers, there's some people that collect these. They're oddities. They're very hard to find. They're rare. It doesn't happen often. And the newer the book is, the less often you'll see it. And the more covers there are, the rarer it is. So when you get, I think there was an ASM 361 with 4 covers that sold.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that was on like Comic Link or Heritage Featured Auction or something this past year, I think. sold for a lot. It sold for several $1,000s because it's a modern book. So you don't find even double covers very often. This one had a quadruple cover, and it was like a 9/8. So it was a super rare, valuable book. But double covers were, not common, but you'll run across them in the golden age books, 50s. When you start getting into the 60s, you'll still see them, but they're not as prevalent. When you get to bronze and copper, there's not too many of them. So if you find one, it's a pretty nice gem. And then modern books, you almost never see it. Yeah, but if you can find a double cover on a key, that's a big book because people want the key and then they get a double cover on the key. That's a valuable book.
I know somebody who had a double cover Mark Jewelers comic.
I would imagine that's pretty rare thing too.
It was like a minor key. I want to say it was like a Hulk 162 or something like along those lines. And it sold at a convention we were doing it for 3 times, I believe, what that comic was going for.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's not even a key you're saying, so.
No, it was like a minor key. It was like
Okay.
I may be misremembering, but maybe it was the first Wendigo or something, but something like along those lines. Nothing major, at least not 10, 15 years ago. So.
Well, I don't have the information in front of me, but I was really impressed when I saw that quadruple cover ASM 361 because I consider that a major Copper Age key. It's in, 1993, 91, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first Carnage, and it was like a 9.8, and it had 4 covers. So yeah, there's people out there that really will pay up to have that in their collection. There's people who go after that specifically.
Mike in the chat says that Dave at Funny Pages has a book with 8 covers.
Wow,
that's wild.
I've never heard of that many. I think most I've heard of is 5. That's amazing.
Wow.
So in my attempt to be the new Roger, we've mentioned 2 books by name and number, and I put them both out just as quick as I could. There's Hulk 162, the first appearance of Wendigo.
Yeah, that might have been the book, but it was a while back, so I may be misremembering. But I do remember it had a double cover and it had a Mark Jewelers.
This only has 1 cover and I think just as many staples. So no, I mean I think I took the other one out because it had such bad mitigating rust. I was worried about it.
I do have a comic somewhere which was naturally produced without any staples.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that happens for older books sometimes.
Yeah, it's just wrapped. It's like a Silver Age. I'll see if I can find it for next week. I wanted to show you this.
All right, here it is. It was actually a 6 cover ASM 361.
Whoa. Wow. Yikes.
Yeah, I don't have that one.
Wouldn't the cover be like off center at some point because it's going to be wrapped over and over and over?
I would think that some of them would have to be miswrapped. Some a little long in the back, some a little long in the top.
Long in the front, long in the front or in the back. You would have
both.
To be able to see
one way and one the other just to get it all to move down the line.
It couldn't be all. They couldn't all be centered on top of each other because it's too much thickness there.
And it could have been that the staples were slightly detached on the centerfold too, if it wasn't enough to get around it, or had trouble punching through,
or they're barely holding on the inside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I've never had an extra cover on a book, so I have no experience with those personally. But I just see the prices people pay on them. So,
wow.
This is what I wanted to show you guys because this drove me crazy in the late 70s. These still 35-cent cutoffs.
Yep.
It's cut off, right? And then
right.
It's
not even a starburst anymore. It looks like bird poop.
Yeah, look at that. Right? That's really cut off. But then you have one that is completely in, like this. See?
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
It's just a little bit of the UP. I think just a little bitty bit down there is cut off. But they made that so it's almost impossible for you to get the whole UPC and the whole starburst in. It's nearly impossible. I mean, it's like laser precision for you to be able to get that.
That one looks about as close as you're going to get.
Pretty much. I mean, maybe you can move it just a hair down here. Maybe just move it a hair up, and that would get that border a little bit higher.
Yeah, as long as everything is straight and not cut off, that's pretty much, I think, what's considered a pretty perfectly centered book, where you have everything showing, everything straight, a little border at top and a little below the UPC on the bottom. And, you know, it's rare. DC had its own problems. They had those two circles. They had like the 20-cent circle on the upper left, and then the DC circle up on the upper right. And they barely fit on a perfectly centered book anyway, and they're always cut off somehow, sometimes top and side, like a Batman 251. Very hard to find one of those books that's centered properly.
Yeah, and the Silver Age 12 centers, I mean, some of them look like they're 2 cents because they're so far wrapped to the left.
That's on sale, Roger.
I mean, I have several of those. I'm like, where's the one? I mean, it's totally wrapped around the other side.
I tell you, we were talking about nerd caves or man caves or whatever, or comic rooms. And one good thing about having it in the house is that if you've got a great wife, she'll bring you a nice warm drink for the, you know. So that wouldn't happen if I was out like in a field somewhere with a shack.
Or at my house, I get my own. Bring a can of soda down with me.
I heard a can opening. I didn't want to pry, and then
well, I bring my own water bottles. I don't want to bother her. You know, I have to open the door. I put these doors, by the way, in this house have these slats. Have you seen, like, almost like closet doors?
Really?
So you can hear everywhere in the house. So what I did is I put an old comforter up against it, so it'll muffle the noise somewhat.
Oh, wow. So every room in the house, even the bedrooms, have slats in them?
Yeah, well, not every room. Like the doors that go into other parts of the house have a solid wood door, but the bedrooms all have these doors with slats in them. So I have no idea. I mean, it's almost like, you know, like it's a cabana or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
No, I'm not.
No, me neither. We went to Myrtle Beach this summer, and it was labeled as a separated bedroom, and it had like a pass-through window that was nothing but slats. I was like, this is not a bedroom when it's, you know, a pass-through with slats. There's no privacy there at all. That's not going to work.
Yeah. But I mean, for us, it's not a big deal per se, because my daughter lives on the other side of the house in the in-law quarter, you know. But in this situation, you know, if my wife wants to do something on the living room with somebody, you know, you can hear everything like clearly in the back bedrooms. So anyway,
that wouldn't work for me.
Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention that yesterday I won a contest.
Woohoo! What'd you win?
I won Drunk Comics.
That's a good name. I don't think I'm subbing him. I have to fix that.
Yeah. And guess what? If you made a video, you got 4 entries. Well, I couldn't make a video because I didn't have Wi-Fi for a week. So I just did a comment. I got 1 entry, and I won. I was the last one out of the hat.
Wow.
So I'm getting, yeah. I was shocked. I was like, there's no way I'm going to win, because there were so many people that made videos. So I'm getting 2 variants of the Batman Who Laughs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that, you know, guys, enter contests. You just never know, you know, what you're going to get. You just never know.
Yeah, I don't enter contests. I haven't even made a video in a couple weeks, so that's not something I do. But congratulations on winning that.
Okay, I mean, I didn't do it to win. I just did it to support the channel. I mean,
right.
I thought for sure I wasn't going to win, so I just, you know, I was just being courteous, and I watched the contest video, drawing, you know, just to congratulate the winner, and it was me. So anyway.
See, I've started doing the opposite, Roger. So I guess I'm somewhere in between the two of you. So I used to enter everything that I could based on support, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there were so many channels that I wanted to support, and I felt like I was being kind of picking and choosing, right?
Right.
So I didn't like that. And everyone asks kind of good stuff. And then after you kind of submit videos for contest entries over the course of a year, as you know, you end up kind of doing the same video over and over again because a lot of the requests are similar. So instead, and then the other thing was I was winning a couple of them and I'd get these prizes, and I'm not knocking the prizes, but they weren't really for me. You know, like maybe there'd be one book out of 6 books that I was happy to have, and then the others were just kind of extra books in my collection, right? That weren't really for me. So I felt bad because like somebody probably would want all 6 of these comics, and I feel bad that here I am, I won the prize and I only got one. So I thought about maybe doing some videos and prize tagging people instead. And then I decided, you know what? Instead, I'm just not going to really, I don't think I've done a contest video or support video in months and months. And if I do one, like I'll do some comment entries or something, or I'll tell people I'm not entering, but you know, good luck with the contest. I'll usually do that as a show of support. But then, you know, I've got to where I don't really enter any of them unless the prize and the question. It has to be a perfect thing. It has to be a channel I'm already subscribed to. It has to have a perfect prize for me, and it has to have a video question that I want to do, and then I'm in. And it's been months since I've done one, so that tells you where I'm at on that.
Well, you could, use them as prizes for your own contests, and just pay it forward, sort of, and just pass it on to another collector, and it'll reach somebody that cherishes it more than you do. Or you could send them to like Reggie, and he does those giveaways for the what he does, like the comic quizzes and stuff.
Comic trivia, yeah.
Comic trivia. Another good thing I've done, I've had comics stacking up, and you know, a friend who has a kid or a neighbor or something, I'll give them to the kid. You know what I mean? Not because they'll like anything, because they're going to get a lot more out of it than we will.
That's true. That's a good idea. Because
they have an uncorrupted view of comics that's pure. Every comic to them is the same value. They're all awesome. They have stories and action in them, and
that's what I have.
They're not sort of polluted with must collect this run, must get this key, how much was my budget. Like they just, you could give them a Hulk 181 or some 10-cent book that's not worth anything, and they won't care. That's all awesome to them.
You know, between your comments this week and your comments last week, I've learned that I'm polluted and my books are sick. So,
I don't think there's any right or wrong way to enter or not enter a contest, and I don't think that most channels are upset if you do or you don't. What I do is that, for example, if it's an overseas contest, I generally try to prize tag somebody, in that area, in Europe or wherever, just because I don't do it for the prize. So if I do win, I feel bad receiving something because overseas shipping is insanely expensive.
Yeah.
So I do prize tag a lot of those contests just because I would feel honestly bad for the person who's taking time to donate these books and make a contest for the community, and then I win it, and like you said, Bub, it's not really something that's up your alley, but since I've been doing the contest roundups, I really felt like a connection to these channels that are trying to do these contests for the community. And so I do my level best to enter everyone I can. And I will be prize tagging a lot in the future because I've been winning a lot. I've won last year. I think I won 6 or 7 contests. So
I think from now on, if I enter one, I'm going to prize tag DS Comics. I'm telling him he wants nothing but modern variants.
I will take all the modern variants you send me, and I will find people who cherish them, and I will make sure they get to good homes. That's what I'll do.
That's very big of you, DS.
But yeah, modern variants. Hey, I'm not into modern comics anyway. So my view on modern variants is I think they're running scams on this stuff at this point, just trying to make money and squeeze every penny they can out of comic shops, who are really the customers. It's not really us.
Yeah.
Comic shops are the ones who are the customers of Marvel and DC. But there's a lot of people who are, that's their bread and butter, and they are getting fed up with it too. So they're killing the golden goose, or the goose that lays the golden egg, by running 30 covers for these books, where it used to be something special. You get the variant cover, people would search them out. But when they're putting out thousands of quote rare variants a year, then rare variants aren't rare. Any particular one may be rare for that, but there's more rare variants out there than there are almost regular issues anymore. It's insane.
And then there's always another more rare variant, like one that comes out 2 weeks after the regular date, and like, oh, now this particular online retail shop has their own variant. So even if you tried to collect all the variants when it came out, they're still making more variants. You got to pick up like a week or 2 weeks later after the original sale date. It's
but then they're rebooting series all the time with new number ones. There's no continuity in those, and they're doing third, fourth, fifth, sixth printings and making all those collectible. And if you're trying to, and then they're doing all these crossovers, and if you're trying to collect a run of something today, I mean, it's not even the money aspect as it is tracking down all of the things involved to put together what would be a technical full run of a title. And then they reboot it anyway. So, what's the point of having a full run and then that's rebooted and now there's a new title, new number one, and it's not right what they're doing. They're really preying on stuff that people used to have because of the value and the rarity and the uniqueness of it, and it's not anymore. They sort of ruined it.
Yeah, as I was, this is one subject which I was, in the 90s, I saw this happen, and we at the comic book shop, we said, hey, you're biting off your own nose here because you're putting so much pressure on comic shops to overorder to get these variants. And then they have all these issues that nobody wants that go into the dollar bin and eventually into the quarter bin. And that is sinking so many. I mean, the shops in Florida I see, they're struggling because they just if they don't order it, then the customers will get upset because they don't have the variants. They'll go to another shop that does. The few customers that that want those variants, but otherwise, they're having overstock that they have to pay for and can't return, and that is sinking them. That is really sinking them, and that's what happened. Exactly what happened in the 90s. With all the different blingy covers that people wanted, and then guess what? They are worthless now.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of these comic shops though that don't go under by trying to do it, and they just can't make ends meet, and they have to close. The ones that are going to survive, what they're going to do is they're not going to order all those books. They're going to order what they can sell out. Basically, they'll order 3 issues of this, 5 issues of that, and basically, if somebody orders it, they'll get it for their customer. But they're not going to. These variants are going to be these comic shops are not going to order all of those books because they have backstock, tens of thousands of dollars worth of books, which in a year's time they're not sellable anymore. They end up in a dollar bin. And they just take up space, and that's retailers value space.
Correct.
Space has concrete value in the retail setting, and when you have long boxes filled with dollar books, that is wasted space. That's not profitable.
Yeah,
and I think stores are just going to stop ordering books, and unless you're getting like My Comic Shop or Midtown Comics, where they have a subscription service and they're selling out millions of comics, they get all the variants because they order everything.
Right.
But smaller shops in towns, they're either not going to survive or they're just not going to be ordering these books.
Yeah. But that's going to be the choice. Exactly. It's either no variants or variants, and you're going under. There's going to be no other really option unless you're one of those big guys that you're talking about.
Yeah. Hey, Roger, I was going to show you this real quick. Not to change the subject, but definitely to change the subject. I was going to show you this. I know that you don't do Instagram and all that stuff, right? And I wasn't going to do a video on it, but I made a custom top loader for this Phantom Eagle.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go. That's all. I just wanted to hear you say nice.
Very nice. Would that fit like digest size? Is that about right? Or is that a little smaller?
No, it's a little smaller.
Because it's only the size of a regular, like thickness of a comic.
Oh, it is? Okay.
This comic, I think, was like, I feel like it was 16 or 18 pages. Mm-hmm. So it's about that size. And it's got a backing board too, so it fits that. And then on the inside, I posted through a long thumbtack. That way I can just stick it to my wall. And it doesn't need any kind of holder or anything like that. And I taped her over the back that way it wouldn't damage the comic just in case.
And how much would those be, Bub?
$19.99 for the first hour it takes me to put it together. But I'm going to have a variant edition that has sides falling off. If you want one of those error versions, I can get you one of those. Just PM me with your request. We'll get it done.
You know, you are getting pretty good at making those custom cases, because those books you bought off me are even smaller than that, and you made custom bags and boards for those.
Yeah,
also
I love it.
cool. So yeah, you're getting good at customizing this stuff.
Well, I'm cheap, and you know, cheapness is a mother of invention. So, well, one of us. It's got a lot of mothers. That we don't have a father that'll claim us, but we've got a lot of moms.
Jeez. Man, that's rough, man. And, you know, dads, you know, they're important in today's society still.
This is true. This is true. But nobody wants to claim the cheap guys. Well, what do you say, guys? We've done it again. I know it went by fast this time because Roger is having some technical difficulties. I don't know what it was. It was mine. It was mine. It was my fault. But I got it fixed. So I want to thank everybody for joining us on the No Faces Comic Chat. We talked a little bit about our dream comic rooms. And really, we're looking forward to Roger's development of his comic room and see how it goes. And hopefully he'll put a little special spot up there, a little shrine to the No Faces Comic Chat. That's what I'm looking for. I want it to be a blacked out mirror where it's just you can't see yourself. Just a nice mirror frame and some black spray paint. Nice.
I didn't get to finish, but one of the things that in the comic room that I said is important is that it should really display who you are as a collector and what you value, right? So I am going to have my ideal comic room is going to have a section for the community, for the YouTube community, and the art that I've received, the AOKs, the different aspects that the community is involved in here. So that's important to me. So that's going to be part of my comic room, one way or another.
Very cool. Yeah,
I like that a lot. I'll be honored to make the wall if I do, or whatever you've got going on, even if it's just like a small tapestry or any kind of woven product. Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Listen, I'm in Mississippi. I'm not in Indonesia or something. You know?
Oh, are you sure? Did you look outside through the slatted doors to see?
There are no pyramids, and there are no idols out here that I can see. So,
well, I'll be there soon, and then they might erect one. So I'll tell them all, say I'm here. They'll say, "Oh, great." Well, we're glad that you made it.
Nobody else laughed at that, Bub.
I don't care. They will when I'm on top of a pyramid. But I'm glad you made it safe. I'm glad you made it back to us safely. We missed you a bunch. Really good to hear your voice again and to have you here on the No Faces Chat. Of course, it's just not the same without you.
No, it's not. Really glad you're back.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. And the same thing, I missed you guys like to death, really. So awesome. It's almost like a piece of me is missing when I don't hear you guys every week.
Well, it's your wallet. Because
that's true. That's true enough.
This move was probably pretty rough on you, so I don't know. I know last time I moved, all the hobby budgets took a big hit. So
yeah. I'm gonna have to slow it down for a little bit here. I'm only looking for a few things, and that's it for right now.
Awesome. Well, we'll catch everybody next week. Same bat time, same bat channel on the No Faces Comic Chat, and everybody give your signature goodbyes. Roger, let's start with your sweet goodbyes.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming. Everybody in the chat is awesome. You guys are, again, the best. This is not my signature goodbye. This is more like a monologue at this point. But but everybody, please be blessed and be back.
Thank you. And DS?
All right, everybody, make sure you do your homework.
Perfect. And this is BUB'S Comics signing off and saying, read a comic. Thanks. Bye.
See you, everyone.